Moose, and thank you so much for joining me back here. It's been a while since I recorded. I have a lot of stuff pre-recorded, but it's been a couple weeks since I've actually been here to talk to you. I also hope you had a great 2020. I know it was a difficult year for a lot of people. Personally, it was the year that gave me my son, so I am thankful for this year, this past year, I guess, because it is 2021 when I'm recording this. But I know that it wasn't pleasant for a lot of people, but I hope you had a good one. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now that 2020 is behind us, it is the time of year for everybody to talk about their wrap-ups for 2020, plans for 2021, blah, 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 blah. Today we're going to do my 2020 wrap-up. I am super happy with my reading progress in 2020. My reading goal, I think, was 45 books. I ended up reading 53, which is great for me. I did a lot of audiobooks this past year, which really helped me read more, especially with my son. But since I have so many of those books, I'm just going to briefly tell you what they were. Not going to go into much detail because that video would be forever. Even if I spent 1 minute on each book, it'd be an hour-long video. So I'm just going to go through them. I might mention like if I really enjoyed it, if it was okay, but nothing in depth. But let's get into it. I'm getting up my Goodreads because there's no way I can remember all of those, right? And I do know that I read a bunch of series this past year, so that will cut down on some time in this video because I'll just say I read the series. Okay. I'm going to start at the beginning of the year. The first book I read this year was The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is book 3 in the Folk of the Air trilogy. I was a little disappointed by this. It was my most anticipated release of 2019. Yeah, it was a little weird. It was not my favorite in the series. A little disappointed, but not bad. I need to reread it, maybe, since I've had a little distance. After that, I read The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, popular historical fiction here on BookTube. I read this for a class. It was a reread for me, and I think I cried. I was pregnant when I read it, though. I don't usually cry over books, so that's what I'm going to chalk that up to. I recently unhauled my next series read, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. And I did not read these in order. I read some stuff in between, but I'm just going to go ahead and put the series here. I read The Water Song, part of the Water Song series by Amanda Hocking. I read Wake and Lullaby, which are the first two. And then I DNF'd the series on Treason, on Title, which is book 3. Wasn't for me. I've talked about this plenty on my channel. Didn't care much for it. Throughout the year, which are just scrambled throughout my Goodreads, I read The Series of Unfortunate Events. I reread this. I read this in middle school, maybe. I really enjoyed it when I was younger. I wanted to reread it. I listened to them on audiobook, on Scribd. Excellent. So much fun as an audiobook. I find that I do well with middle grade YA in terms of audiobooks, and this was the perfect series for that. I read all of them this year. Which one was my favorite? I really enjoyed the end. I think the end might be my favorite. That or The Wide Window. Those are the two that I just remember the most of the time. I also listened to The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This is a popular classic. Very short. Doesn't take long at all to listen to. I'm not including DNFs in this video, by the way. I did a video on that before. I read The Alchemist. I listened to The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at names. It was okay. Not what I was anticipating. A little disappointed by the end. Moving past. This was the year of rereads for me, and this year I reread the Hunger Games trilogy with my husband by Suzanne Collins. Ethan had never read these before, so we wanted to read them together. I reread them. Catching Fire is still my favorite. It was a lot more depressing than I remembered it being. Mockingjay was just a real drag, man. A real bummer. Then I read Lichgate by S.M. Boyce. This is book 1 in the Grimoire saga. I have read this saga series before. I tried to reread them this year. Didn't work out. I read the first one, DNF'd it on the second one. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. And like I say, I'd read it before. I read The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Boy, one of my favorite books of the year. One of my favorite reads. So good. Dystopian, in case you don't know. I tried watching the series. I'm intrigued. I just don't have that much time to sit and watch shows anymore. Maybe I'll get around to finishing it eventually. Along with that, I also read The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. That is book 2 in the Handmaid's Tale duology. I think there's only 2. It was good. I like the first one better. Throughout this year, I also read The Chronicles of Narnia. Actually, I have a big copy. I have my big copy. So yes, I read The Chronicles of Narnia. My favorite, I liked The Magician's Nephew, which is book 1. I liked The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is book 2. And I also really liked Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I don't remember which one that is. 6? 5 or 6? I like those 3 the best. The Horse and His Boy, did not like it at all. Don't really know why it was in the Chronicles, if I'm being honest with you. This year, ow, gosh, I shanked my earring. Oh, ouch. This year, I also reread Twilight, the whole saga, in preparation for Midnight Sun. So good. I will say, if I can get these right, I will say I really enjoyed New Moon probably the most out of the original saga this time around, which is odd because most people consider that to be their least favorite. I just enjoy Jacob's character a lot more this time around. However, I think Midnight Sun is my new favorite in the saga. I know it's either hit or miss for a lot of people. Since it's been released, you either kind of love it or you're kind of disappointed and like blah about it. I'm on the side that I am all for it. If Stephanie Meyer wrote the whole saga through Edward's point of view, I would read it and live my best life. That's all I'm really gonna say. I've talked about this plenty on my channel. If you're interested, there are plenty of videos to go see my feelings and thoughts. I also listened to Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I believe this is the same author that wrote An Enchantment of Ravens, which I enjoyed. It was one of my first books about the Fae that I ever read. So I was really intrigued, and I enjoy Fae novels now. But this book was kind of disappointing, if I'm being honest with you. A lot of people rave about this. They really enjoy it. I listened to it on audiobook. Maybe that contributed to my feelings. I was kind of underwhelmed, if I'm being honest with you. However, at the same time, I'm kind of getting out of YA a little bit right now, which makes me a little sad because that's mostly what I read. That's mostly what I've always read, but I am getting more into adult. I'm not sad that I'm getting into adult. I'm sad that I am not enjoying YA as much anymore, if that makes sense. This was the book that really solidified that for me, that maybe it's time to move on a little bit. I also listened to Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I should know that as an English major, I guess. I'm also surprised this is the first time I've ever read this or experienced this. Ethan really enjoys this. He has read this before. He asked me to read it because he reads stuff for me that I enjoy. So we have something to talk about. So I listened to this on audiobook. It was really entertaining. Not what I expected. I don't know what I expected. I feel like classics are always like that for me. They're never what I expect, but what do you expect? I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, not what I expected, but I really enjoyed it. I want to watch the movie now. The play, the musical, what do you call it? This year. I also tried reading the Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare. I read the first 2. I read City of Bone and City of Ashes until I decided to DNF the series. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how much I'm going to say right now. I don't like what Cassandra Clare makes you root for in this series. I think it's kind of disgusting. I have a whole video on why I DNF'd this series if you want to go check it out and hear my thoughts on a deeper level. That's all I'm going to say about it here. This year I also started the Red Queen series by Victoria ABR. I read the first 3. I read Red Queen, Glass Sword, and King's Cage. I listened to all 3 on audiobook. So yeah, I almost finished the series. I have 1 more left. Along with this, I listened to The Strange the Dreamer duology. It's a weird way to put that. I listened to the first one. I read the second one, Muse of Nightmares, on ebook. The first one, narrator was excellent. I like that we finally get a male protagonist in YA fantasy. Excellent. The way that Laszlo is described, I thought the narrator did an excellent job. I don't know, his voice just fit the character for me. However, the romance kind of ruined this series for me. I thought the premise was so interesting, so neat, and then the romance just comes out of nowhere. I didn't really think it was necessary. I still went on to finish the series, so it wasn't like a deal breaker for me, but I definitely think I would have enjoyed it more without the romance. So yeah, Strange the Dreamer, Muse of Nightmares, read both of them. As I said before, I am trying to get more into adult fantasy, so I read Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This is kind of a D&D fantasy type thing. It kind of reminds people of a D&D campaign. I don't play D&D. I don't know. With that though, there are some references to different creatures. Apparently there's a lot of references to rock bands that I didn't get. Whenever I encountered something like that, I had to stop and look it up. It took me out of it a little bit. However, it is a good read. It's enjoyable. It's lighthearted if you're looking for an adult fantasy that's not too heavy. This is a good one. Even if you don't play D&D, I think you'll enjoy it. Because I don't play D&D and I enjoyed it. Also this year, I reread the Becca Cooper trilogy by Tamora Pierce. I'm giddy because I like this. I read these the first time back in middle school. I didn't remember hardly anything about them, so I decided to reread them this year. What to say? What to say? One, this had potential to be one of my new favorite series. It kind of borderline still is. However, I was really disappointed by the ending of the last one, Mastiff. I have a bookmark in this one still, apparently. Something's in here. A piece of paper. Ghost, can you quit prancing? Can you quit walking around, please? So this is a YA fantasy mystery detective trilogy, I guess you could call it. It follows a girl named Rebecca Cooper who is a provost guard, which basically means she's like a policeman, a cop. And each book is focused around like one crime that they're trying to solve. Like I say, I was really enjoying this series. And then there's a twist. I don't know if you consider that a spoiler or not. I kind of don't. I won't tell you what it is. There's a twist at the end of the last book in which a character does something that I do not think fits that character's character. And it really disappointed me. Which is which is just making me like on the fence. Like I'm toppling. Like, is it one of my favorite series? Is it not? That makes me not want to put it in a favorite series. In my head, I just kind of ignore that. And I'm like, that didn't happen. But it did. So I don't know how to feel. I plan on doing a review of this series. So I'll talk more in depth about it at a later date. But right now, there you go. Spent a lot of time talking about that. I just feel strongly about that series. We're getting close to the end here since I kind of just lumped some series into themselves and together. I don't know. I can't talk today. I started Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. I don't know how to say it. The audiobook lady says it one way. I don't see how she gets that, but maybe it's just me. I don't know. Anyways, I started this series. I think there are 4 books in it. I read this one, which is Three Dark Crowns, and I read book 3, Two Dark Reigns. So I listened to this on Scribd. I listened to both of them. I finished this one, and Scribd was like, hey, here's the next one, Two Dark Reigns. I didn't read it that closely. I didn't pay attention, so I just clicked on it and started reading. And I was like, Aramis, this is way in the future. A lot of stuff seems to have happened. But in my head, I was like, maybe it's one of those deals where there's just like a time hop, and then the author will just sprinkle in what happened in the past throughout the book. And then I looked closer, and it said Two Dark Reigns, book 3. But by that point, I was already into like chapter 10, like 5 hours in. And I just decided I pretty much know what happened in the second book. So I went and read a summary for the second book, got a bigger feel for it. I don't think it was that difficult to skip over. I'm not totally invested in this series anyways, if I'm being honest with you. It's fine. I feel like if I'd read it back in high school when I first bought the book, I would enjoy it a lot more. That's a running theme for me here on my channel here lately. So yeah, I read book 1 and book 3, not book 2. And then Scribd didn't put book 4, the last one, on the app until like December 31st. So I didn't get to finish it last year. Anyways. And then the last book I listened to this year, past year, in 2020, I burped, excuse me, was Alana, the First Adventure, which is book 1 in the Song of the Lioness series. Trilogy? I don't know. By Tamora Pierce. Like I say, I really enjoyed Becca Cooper. I wanted more Tamora Pierce. I'm kind of just feeling her right now. So I looked this up, found it on Libby. I've had people recommend this to me when I've talked about Becca Cooper on my channel before. I enjoyed it. I will say I was kind of bleh about it until the very end. It was just a lot of this little girl wants to be a knight and she's training. And she's like pretending to be a boy. That way she can actually train to be a knight, which is fine. I'm not, you know, bashing on that story, but I don't know. I wanted some more action. I do plan on continuing the series this year because, like I say, the ending of it made me intrigued. So yeah, there we go. Those are all the books that I finished in 2020. Really proud of myself. Super proud, especially since I had a son this year. I am thrilled that I made it over 50 books for the year. I hope 2021 is going well for you so far. So far, it's good for me. I've already finished a book. It's the 4th of January, and I have finished a book on audiobook, but that's okay. And I'm like halfway through the next book on audiobook, which is great for me. I'm gonna stop talking now and doing whatever this is. I hope you guys had an awesome year. I hope this coming up year is even greater for you. Let me know down below how your reading went in 2020. I hope it went great for you. I know a lot of people had a good reading year because of quarantine. However, I know a lot of people also didn't have a great reading year because of quarantine. So I was on the first side. I hope that it went well for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe down below and leave a comment. You guys are so awesome. I'm so thankful for you. And we'll meet back here next time. See ya. How's this gonna work? I don't know. I guess that's good enough.